Hi there. Welcome to iTWireTV. Today we're speaking with Rafi Katanasho, the APAC Chief Technology Officer for Dynatrace. Thank you so much for joining us, Rafi. Great to have you here.
Yeah, great pleasure to be with you, David, and your
Thanks.
audiences, obviously.
Thank you so much. So I guess as a starting point, what can you tell me about Dynatrace? What does it offer? What solutions it offers to Australian, New Zealand customers? And, what are some of the challenges your customers come to you about?
Yeah, no, great question. I guess if somebody new is looking, let's say, walking down the shopping aisle and looking for Dynatrace, you'll find that in the aisle that's called observability. I guess for most people, they probably know, at enterprise level, people have done some sort of a monitoring in place, and observability is, think of it as the next iteration. People don't want to just monitor their environments, but they really want to understand how they actually work. They want to be able sort of to improve them proactively. And so it's observability. And most recently, we've expanded not just observability, but specifically when you think about modern cloud infrastructure and architectures for complex large enterprises. And the security situation is also changing. So we believe that there's an intersection between observability and security for this new world of cloud that we're basically addressing. But as a company, we've even stepped above that. So we see ourselves more like, rather than just monitoring and observability, but we see ourselves as analytics and automation for unified observability and security. And the reason we say that is because we believe that large, complex enterprises and government departments, they really want to get answers very, very quickly. They want to empower their teams with better decision-making processes, rather than just have what I call eyeball analytics, but basically have AI-type analytics to help them, progress better. So we see ourselves, as I said, analytics and automation powered by AI. That's the key thing.
Fantastic. No, that's very helpful. I appreciate that. And I guess I understand there's been some exciting news in our region as well from Dynatrace. So you're undergoing iRAP certification. You've recently had some deployments with some big names that we know here, Village Roadshow, Toyota Finance. I guess what else is going on in the region? Yeah, what can you tell me about these great things?
I guess, because our focus is on big, large enterprise and government departments, obviously a lot of these large enterprise government departments, they want, let's say data sovereignty, they want security, they want to make sure that they're dealing with an enterprise or with software vendors, basically, that deliver to that level of security, reliability basis. So we've invested heavily in ensuring that our SaaS offering is deployed right here in Australia. Plus, now we're doing the iRAP certification to ensure that these government departments can ensure that they get the benefits of this SaaS delivery and the scale without compromising, let's say, on the security standards. So this is something that, obviously with our focus being on these large enterprises, we need to deliver to their resilience and regulatory requirements to ensure that, they're getting the advantages.
Right, excellent. And I understand as well, you've recently been accepted to the New Zealand All of Government Marketplace. What does that mean?
Yeah, I mean, this is also part of our focus, let's say, on governments. And governments, they have their standards and their marketplaces where they evaluate vendors' ability to deliver and to partner with them to ensure that they meet a lot of their regulatory and procurement requirements as well. So, we've worked with them and we've established ourselves on their marketplace to be able to ensure that any New Zealand government departments will be able to easily procure, so they can actually deliver those digital government services more reliably and more securely to the New Zealand, constituents out there.
Yeah, awesome. That's exciting. And I guess just to clarify one thing from my own understanding, so we're talking about the push Dynatrace has for big enterprises, and clearly you've got big inroads into government. But what about, I guess, a smaller enterprise? I guess, is there a customer, like what is, I suppose the question is, what is the what's the best size customer for Dynatrace? Is there a customer that's too big or too small? If a small shop wanted the great stuff of Dynatrace, are they able to use the product?
Now, that is a good question. Like the technology, it's not a technology thing. Our technology obviously can service any customer of any size. Actually, it's even available on AWS Marketplace, Azure Marketplaces, Google Marketplaces, so people can go and self-serve. But where we see, where we built Dynatrace for is the large, most complex environments globally. And that's where the benefits of AI at scale comes into play for these larger environments, like most complex environments. It's not to say that the smaller environments and smaller shops will not be able to get benefit, but when you're dealing with very large transactions that go from mobile to mainframe and multi-cloud environment, distributed cloud environments, that's where the complexity increases to a level where, it's beyond humans' ability to be able to interpret. This is where, the AI at scale, is not an optional thing, becomes a mandatory requirement to be able to deal with these complex environments, that's out there. But our software, as I said, is available and accessible to anybody of any size.
Yeah, fantastic. But no, that's great what you say about the big, I can imagine the challenge of, working with a multi-global system and just trying to understand what's happening inside that, that black box of an application.
That's exactly right. Interesting you say black box, because that's the way, I guess, as application has evolved, people in a black box where things weren't changing a lot, it's okay to actually test it from the outside to be able to understand, some of the symptoms, and then to a great extent, because things don't change very, very much. If you understand some, telemetry from the outside, you're able to sort of come to a conclusion of what's really going on. But when you talk about, distributed microservices, complex architectures with millions of dependencies between all of these and thousands and millions of transactions going through them, becomes simply impossible with the amount of data that's been, thrown at us across these number of transactions. So that's where, these systems become absolutely essential, mandatory to be able to help you deliver capabilities faster to market, but not just that, but deliver them more securely and more reliably to the constituents. Otherwise, you're not going to get the benefits of, whether it's citizens or end users consuming them and advocating, from a customer experience perspective.
Yeah, right. And with those scale of numbers, no wonder this is where, I guess, the investment in AI comes into it to help people deal with that at scale. What are some of the examples of what the AI infusion in Dynatrace means to its users and operators?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. Specifically right now, when AI has become, I don't want to say a buzzword, but it's come to the forefront,
Yep.
right? With the large language models introduced in November of last year, I guess AI has moved from the back offices where people and academics basically to dinner table kind of conversations, how your kids and your family members going to take advantage of AI. And I think it's a really positive thing. I've been in AI, actually I did my thesis on AI back in 1993 on neural networks, backpropagation networks. So this is a key topic of passion of mine. And it's been evolving obviously over a long period of time. And I think the best maybe way to describe it is there's different types of AIs that address different problem segments, right? Obviously, large language models, the likes of ChatGPT and things like that, they're really great, but in some ways they are non-deterministic in their nature. They obviously dependent on the type of data that you feed it and the type of question and how accurate the questions are that you deliver it. And you ask it the same question twice, you might get two different answers. You think about our IT infrastructure systems basically that we run, right? If you want to leverage AI to help you, I think there's two main use cases when you think about running your infrastructure that you might want to leverage AI for. One is to automate as much as possible. You want to automate those menial tasks so your team are focused on the more meaningful things, right? The more business value add, the more exciting things they actually want to be working on. The other one is you want to augment these teams to make better business decisions right in time. So you want to support them with that, let's say, augmentation level. Some people call it co-piloting them, and I think this is becoming a standard term. So if you want to automate as much as possible, the type of AI that you really must want to use has to be deterministic, has to be accurate, has to be, precise. And so that's something that Dynatrace we've been working on really since 2014. We built an AI that we call deterministic AI. So if you think about this complex infrastructure that runs, and if there's a problem that happens across this infrastructure, our AI is able to pinpoint the problem and pinpoint the root cause of that problem using deterministic mechanisms. And so for that, you can then go in and automate on top of it because it's deterministic and it is highly accurate. So you can go and automate so the teams aren't woken up in the middle of the night. Your systems are more resilient. So that's one use case. Another use case is you want to get ahead of things, meaning that you might want to anticipate things before they happen. That's what we call predictive AI. And again, predictive AI needs to have precise level of predictions. Otherwise, automation on top of it becomes less meaningful. So that's, again, an area that we've invested really heavily in to be able to predict ahead of times, let's say, patterns of, let's say, workloads, additional workloads coming through, problem patterns that could evolve, and then proactively take actions against them, which is really, really good. And finally, we've most recently introduced something that we call hypermodel AI that leverages the best of deterministic AI, the best of predictive AI, and the best of, let's say, large language model AI capabilities. And the idea is to help feed the large language models with this precise data that the other AIs basically work, and to hyper prompt, basically to ask the questions using that model. So basically let AI prompt AI so you can get the better answers and get the humans to be augmented or co-piloted in the most effective way possible. So humans can simply ask questions, tell me about, what should I anticipate over the next week in terms of my users, their resilience, their response times, number of transactions, the revenue generated from that capability. Put this on a dashboard for me and give me answers. So basically use human language to basically get answers back from AI.
That's very exciting. That is exciting. Wow. And I guess speaking of predictions, just turning from predictive AI to predictive Rafi, I guess. What are your predictions that you're expecting to see in 2024 as we come to a close this year? What's 2024 do you think hold for the industry, for Dynatrace, for observability?
That's a really good question. So human prediction. Look, the one thing I talk about is I talk about a world of never normal, and I think next year will also be, probably a never normal world. There's both in the technology world, AI will continue to evolve, and new use cases will emerge basically out there in that world. But also there is a security world. This never normal, there's geopolitical situations taking, and that's going to sort of ramp up, I think, the security threats, and everybody is going to be doubling down and taking security a lot more seriously, and we're already taking it seriously, but some of those threats and real attacks will accelerate, I think. So from that perspective, and we've also seen over the last few years a never normal in terms of the ecological environmental issues that basically lets enterprises ensure that they're designing architectures that are resilient, that can handle any type of disaster situation. So from that perspective, so I think AI will become more prominent, security threats will become more real, and I think organizations will start designing for resiliency, or at least thinking how to design for resiliency by design, as opposed to an afterthought kind of environment.
Fantastic. Oh, that's wonderful. No, I appreciate that, Rafi. You've given me a lot of food for thought, and it's been wonderful learning about Dynatrace, but particularly the advanced feature it offers, and certainly how it can help organizations of any size, from small to massive global scale. That's wonderful.
And you mentioned a few of those, like Village Roadshow, when they were launching, the Barbie and Oppenheimer sort of movies, the scale that they were expecting coming up. That was the largest weekend in Australian history of movie theater.
I can imagine,
how do you then, make sure that your infrastructure and your application are resilient to handle it when it's actually most needed, right, on those days? Same things, you spoke about Metcash as well, delivering, at scale for their organizations. We've heard from Auckland Transport, government departments as well. The scale of transitioning from, let's say, standard traffic light to a bit more digital analytics kind of. systems, and Toyota Finance, financial organizations. And obviously, we have large banking and government departments. So they're all, have different businesses, but they have one thing in common. They want to deliver perfect software to their users, right? And that's the vision Dynatrace has. Our vision is to ensure that we have a world where software works perfectly. We know that that's a vision that is hard to get, but I think we should aspire for delivering that, and we believe you can aspire to that by delivering answers and automation from data.
I love it. A vision of a world where software works perfectly. That's awesome. What a mission.
That's our vision. Exactly right.
Excellent. No, well, thank you, Rafi. That's been really interesting. I appreciate that a lot. Thank you so much for your time.
Many thanks, David. I appreciate it, and look forward to speaking to you next time.
Excellent. Thank you so much. You take care.